Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, Ken. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Dave?
I'm trying to drink 4 pounds of water.
That is awesome.
It is very difficult to do, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night. And, and my kids think they can drink 4 pounds of water, which is really funny. But I'm doing great. We had a great day, great week. I can't wait to share what we did over the weekend, Ken and I. We saw our first in-person movie together for the pod, and that was excellent. We'll get to that in a little bit. You know what we're talking about, Project Hail
Yes.
Mary. But other than
Yes.
that, Ken, I watched a World War II movie this week.
Which one?
It's about the Austrian resistance to the Nazi occupation.
Huh. I thought you were going to say like Hogan's Heroes or something, but that's
No,
not
it's
really
Sound of
accurate. So.
Music.
Yeah, Sound of Music. Yes.
That's a
I like World War
II
II movies. I like World War II movies.
So is The Sound of Music a World War II movie?
I guess technically it would be, but it's kind of like the war's kind of in the background on that one. But yeah, and everyone's singing, so I don't know if how accurate that is. If
So
they really did
actually,
that back
I
then.
looked into it. It is very accurate. The family was a singing family. They were invited to sing for Hitler, and they said, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." And they literally left Germany, left Austria, and moved to America. Actually, they moved to Vermont. And
Yeah. Yes.
so I didn't know that. They're former neighbors of yours, and they had that hotel and I guess ski resort, and they moved to
My
Vermont.
my brother and my sister-in-law just stayed there a few weeks ago. So
Wow.
they've been there before, but they stayed, and I think they stayed in Maria's room, Maria von Trapp.
Wow.
They got to stay in her room this time. So they've been there more than once, but I guess it's pretty cool. So yeah,
So yeah,
Vermont,
I watched
of all
that.
places.
My one child, my daughter, she when we finished watching it, she started to weep because she loved it so much. It was pretty cute to watch. She just was so moved by the Sound of Music. She started to tear up. She's like, I want to watch it again. I said, we'll watch it again. So she's at literally, she knows it's Friday tomorrow. She's like, so Dad, can we watch the Sound of Music tomorrow? I'm like, we probably will let her put it off for him. So that's
Yeah.
besides what we're reviewing, that's what I've watched this week. How about yourself?
I don't think I've really watched much this week out of the ordinary. Um, I did start teaching my youngest son how to drive a stick.
Wow,
So
that's cool.
um, that's interesting. But he's doing good. He's learning. I was thinking about it today. I'm like, so I started to teach my older son, but he really caught on like on his own. So I didn't do a lot with him on that. But
It's kind of like that.
the only other person that I have extensively taught was my wife, and that was scary. So, um, but she finally learned it, in fact, I taught her how to drive too. So
Huh.
she was 23 before she got her license. And I would where we were from in that state at the time, you had to be 25 in order to like teach someone else how to drive. I was only 21. So we'd go out at night and I was like, well, someone's got to teach her. So I would take her out at night and we'd be driving around, back roads at night. And I would tell you that was scary. So, but she finally got it and finally learned how to do it. And I've taught all my kids how to drive. When I was teaching my daughter how to drive, that was scary too. Brought back flashbacks. And the first time I took my daughter out, I was back roads down here, and then she was going to do a left-hand turn, so I said, "Turn left." She starts turning and just keeps turning and turning and turning. I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I'm like pulling the wheel back. I'm like, "You're gonna turn us into the woods." So she's like, "Oh," and so I was like, "Oh boy, this is going to be tough." But it turned out okay. But yeah, it's funny because not fewer and fewer people know how to drive a stick shift nowadays, and pretty much if you have a car that's a manual transmission, it's pretty
It's
safe from getting
unstealable.
stolen. Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of people be like, "I don't know how to drive this thing." So I think it's a shame in a way that fewer and fewer cars have, manual transmissions because if you want to, you got to get from point A to point B. Okay. But if you want to drive, that's the way to do it. You got to have a manual transmission or you're not really driving,
You
in my opinion.
remember, so you're right. The stick shift is basically the young person anti-theft device these days. If you had a manual transmission, no one's gonna steal your car. Remember they used to have the club?
Yes.
They
Yes.
you don't see that
Uh,
anymore, right?
the funny, the club that all you had to do was have a hacksaw and cut the steering wheel and pull the club off. But hey, details, details. The
For
club
those
might
of
have
you
been
I'll
made. What's that?
Oh, man. For
It,
those who don't know what we're talking about, oh, you could still buy them on Amazon.
oh, yeah, we should
Can you imagine?
could buy one and put it on someone's car without them knowing, and they're like, Where's
What
this
is
thing come
this?
from?" Trap them.
I'm trying to find. I'll get a picture up for you guys so you can see the club for those of you. So this is just a little out of whack here. I was at on Sunday last week. I was I preach. I'm a pastor. Um, and here,
You are?
let me surprise y'all. Let's see. Share. Let me share this tab. Okay, and here it is,
Oh, you're
everybody.
putting it up on there.
There's the club. That's the
Wow.
club right there. Wow, is that
And they
how is
still
that? Is
they
that
still sell them.
Yeah, I'm looking on Amazon right now. I'll, share there it
The
is. You could go pick up the club right now today. It's, for 50 bucks or
Wow,
3 payments of 16.67.
nice. Yeah, that was the funny thing about the club is, it's made so you can't saw through and stuff, but literally most steering wheels, you could saw through it with a hacksaw in, like, 5 seconds and just pull the thing off of there. But
Yeah, wow, that's I was like I was saying
but
with the point I was making before, I was preaching and I used a illustration from, um, Barney Fife,
mhm.
and I said, "To all the kids and anyone underneath the age of 50, ask your parents."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because I was thinking, yeah, how and so the old folks, the seniors basically, some of them almost fell over when they but everyone underneath it was like, they were going a little eyes a little crossed. You make those historical references or those old movie references, and people are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. One of my favorite movie references, I guess not a movie reference, but TV show reference was I mentioned Gallagher in Youth Group, and no one
Gallagher.
knows who that is.
Yeah. When we were in Mexico, my oldest son and I were in Mexico. We had a tour guide. We did this tour of the Mayan ruins, and the tour guide made a reference at one point, and he said to my son, Jean-Claude Van Damme? Like, my son would know who he is. I started laughing, because I've said this before. Um, they're all like 20, 30 years behind us in
Yeah.
their entertainment culture. So, when he said that like it's a,
Whoa.
a today thing, and it's like, how would he know who that is? That's like 30 years ago. The guy hasn't made a movie in 30 years, but it was funny though. It was funny.
Is that
But,
right? Has it been that long?
it's been a long time since he's made a movie. I mean, he's, like, old now. So, yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
it's yeah, there's and we'll review Project Hail Mary in a little bit, but I think we're starting to see the crop of new actors that might be worth watching.
Yeah, it's encouraging. It's
Yeah, because
encouraging.
there's not, and by the way, crop is a generous word. Let me be really honest. There's
Yeah.
maybe a sprinkling, and we'll get to it, but I think maybe Ryan Gosling is one of those that's actually gonna be worth watching in the future. Uh, I might be
He's
wrong
got the
about
right
that.
attitude.
Oh,
He's got
and
the
yeah,
right
we'll
attitude.
we'll cover this in a little bit, but Ken, I can't hold you back any longer. I know you've been
I
waiting to share this.
Here we go, dude. I am so excited tonight to share this. Starfleet Academy has been canceled, as we predicted on this show, and I don't know why that canceled is like that because it wasn't like that when I put it up there. But anyway, so, Paramount, in fact, I think it was last Friday, Paramount came out with their official announcement. Oh, here's another picture. Um, Here's some of the cast and, a page I saw, talking about it takes a special kind of stupid to ruin Star Trek. Yes, it does. But they came out with their politically correct statement. Paramount
Of
did.
course. Mhm.
We're incredibly proud of the ambition, passion, and creativity that went into bringing Star Trek Starfleet Academy to life, which is why we're canceling it now. They said in a joint statement, the series introduced audiences to a bold new group of characters, welcomed familiar faces, and expanded the Star Trek universe in exciting new ways, which is why we're canceling the show. We're grateful to Alex Kurtzman, and the other people in the entire cast and crew who pushed storytelling boundaries in the spirit of Gene Roddenberry's vision, which is why we're canceling the show. We look forward to sharing the upcoming second and final season with everyone. Yeah, right. And continuing to celebrate the cast, crew, and all that was accomplished with this series by canceling the show. Dave, I don't know about you, but translation, Starfleet Academy sucked, and so we canceled it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it there. We said this would happen. We said after episode 10 they would cancel the show.
yeah.
Now they're saying, "Oh, we're not doing a season 3." I still maintain, Dave. I still predict we will never see season 2 air. I think this was just their way of letting people know, yeah, we're not doing the show. And I don't think they're going to. I don't think we'll ever see season 2
Wow.
air, but we'll see.
Well, when I read that statement, it reads like a lawyer wrote it. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. It was full of legalese. They had to say what they had to say to avoid getting sued by 10 different directions. I'm sure that's what it
Yeah.
was.
So
we
they
all
probably
know
do that.
we all know by reading between the lines what they were really saying.
And then I'd imagine if you think about it like this, if they cancel the show and they dump the episodes and don't air them, that's a tax write-off for a loss. Because
Yeah.
it was $10 million an episode. So if it's a 10 episode season,
And that
that's
was
a
just for
$100 million
season one.
write-off.
Yeah, that was just for season 1. So they got season
Yeah.
2, which I don't know if they have the same budget that they had the same budget for that or not, but yeah, that was definitely again, I was very excited to see that official. I've been looking for that for weeks.
Oh yeah.
And I have a friend at church, and his wife said to him, "I wonder if Ken had a hand in this," because she knows how much I hate that show. I've made that clear. Now, Strange New Worlds season 4 is due to air some point in 2026, because we still have 2 more seasons that they've made of that show. But then, as far as I know, there's nothing else on the board for Star Trek. And even in the, at this point, everything has been kind of like, halted, as we talked about the last couple weeks. Paramount has bought out Warner Brothers, so there's going to be changes made. But yes,
Oh, yeah.
very excited about that, and I was happy to share that with our audience tonight. So that made my day. I really wanted to make a poster. Which one do I want to make a poster of? I mean, whether it's this one or this one, I'd be fine with either one, and put it up on my wall.
Have you considered that hat for yourself, though? Have you considered that hat?
I thought, where do we go here? I think we should each wear one on the next podcast.
Look at
that's
that
a classic. That is styling all the way.
I don't even know how your neck can support something that looks like that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know about.
So we can make this promise, I think, to the stream. When Strange New World season 4 comes out, we'll probably review the first episode. Ken and I will make the determination if we want to do that much of a deep dive into that series as we've done for this one. We'll see how that works out. I don't want to be burnt again.
No.
This
we'll have
was
to
such
tread
a slog
lightly on that
after
one.
episode 3. It just anyway. We're beating it dead. It's not even a ground beef anymore at this point. But that was such a slog. I'm glad it's canceled. It deserves to be canceled. They did it to themselves. So Ken had told me offline that Kurtzman is probably now going to have to get a job at McDonald's, and I said I don't know if I want to eat anything he made. So
this is true.
I don't think God knows one. There's no renewal and no talk of renewal, and that's that. Well, hey, I wanted to talk
Yep.
about what we really are here for tonight. So let's do that now.
Let's click that. You gonna click that, or you gonna want me to click it?
Oh, you have let me go up.
Yes,
We're
sir.
professionals, Ken. We're
I know.
professionals. That's
Well,
what
let's
this is.
here we go.
Hey, so we saw Project Hail Mary, and it was, if you know the show, if you've watched the movie, like Rocky, it's two thumbs down because Rocky can only do thumbs down. This was an excellent movie. Ken,
Yes.
I'm gonna, so how we're gonna do this is first I'm gonna ask Ken a couple questions about it. Ken, did you read the book? Did you know there was a book, or I before we had brought this up to each other?
I knew nothing about this story. I've never read the book. I didn't even know there was a book. Um, so I know that you did. So I know we had kind of
Yeah,
we're coming at this from two different directions, which is cool. I think this is cool. It's gonna work out well for our discussion tonight. But yeah, I had no idea. Even like the opening scene, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea yet. And so to have it unfold like that, and just to discover what was going on without any foreknowledge was cool. And I've said this before. I make it a point never to research anything I am gonna be watching for a review. So it's just a complete surprise, whatever it is. So yeah,
so
it was.
you went in blind essentially. You just
Mhm.
you trusted me that'd be worth our time. So let's try to keep this spoiler free as much as we can.
Yes.
Um, so when it comes to this film, you had heard nothing about it. You'd heard that there was probably an alien because the trailers had showed as much. What was your impression after you left? How are you feeling after you saw it?
I was like, this is the first movie I've seen in a long time that's like they're back. It's like
Yeah,
we're making good movies again. It was exciting to see an original movie and done so well. Um, the movie's like 2.5 hours, I think, but it didn't feel like 2.5 hours. Like some
no,
movies
it didn't.
drag on, but this wasn't like that. So, um, and I had said to you and to our family members, I'd gladly go watch it again right now. In fact, you have. So, yeah, I
Yeah, I
would
did see it twice.
definitely.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, so I thought it was great. There was Ryan Gosling, who is the main star here. He made a statement. He was speaking to an audience. I don't know if you saw this. He says to the audience, he says, "It's not your job to keep theaters open. It's our job to make things that make it worth you coming out." What a concept, right?
Yeah,
There's a
that
lot of
was
people in Hollywood that could learn from this because this is how it used to be in Hollywood. um, we, the Hollywood people should be making things that want us to watch, you know?
exactly.
Not saying you're obligated to watch this because this is your responsibility. No, it's not my responsibility. This is entertainment. So entertain
So,
me, you know?
so Ken, here's that on that page. Movies preach? Did this movie preach to you at all?
No, no, it really didn't. It was just a
So it
good
was
old
actually entertaining.
fashioned science fiction entertaining movie, something. What if this happens, and here we go. So, the gist of the movie was our son is dying and they're going to figure out why. I mean, that's the gist of the movie, without saying anything else. And send three people on a one-way mission, sacrifice themselves to save the planet. And it was a literally a Hail Mary move.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, it
And
was.
actually, so uh, your wife, she brings up a very good point. There was no swearing in the film at all. I think this.
Not.
So
Yeah, it was.
pardon me. The strongest thing that you're going to hear is when Brian Gosling's character, Dr. Grace, says, "Oh my God." That's the strongest thing he does.
Yeah.
Uh, and now they don't explain it in the film, they explain it in the book, but he uses, like, things like, "Oh, Merry Christmas," and stuff like that. There's not a single bad word said in the entire film. I was telling Ken,
Yeah.
you have to agree, you could tell me if you don't think this is correct. this feels like movie is PG-13, but it feels like an 80s PG movie to me. You
Yeah,
know, back in the
yeah,
day in the 80s, a PG movie might have said hell out of context here or
yeah.
there. Pardon my French, everybody. You'll have to forgive me for that one. Um, Ken, I don't know if you know about this. One of my favorite things to do when people swear in front of me because I'm a pastor, I love to say, I have never heard that one before. and and then see how they react to that. But yeah, there
Yeah,
was swearing, and yes, you have it exactly right. There was no swearing and there was no propaganda. It was perfect. Um,
yeah.
Ryan signed on to this film as a producer, and he wanted to keep it as close to the book as humanly possible. And I'll tell you, somebody read it, they did it. There's some things
Mm.
they had to get out because it just wouldn't make any sense. But like they had in the book, I don't know if you know this, they had to induce global warming to save to keep the planet warm. So
Yeah, you were telling me that.
so they use nuclear weapons on Antarctica to melt the ice. and and so you don't get that in the movie, but that'd be kind of cool, right? This
Yeah.
movie has already made last what was the last money amount that it had made? It it had made last I knew over 140 million. Was that right? What I think?
Yeah. Globally, yeah. So they were, they did, really well, let's put it that way. They're doing really well. Everything I've read has said that they're, exceeding expectations and everything else, which you haven't seen that in a long time in the movies.
They're saying as of right now, it by Monday, so this coming Monday, it should probably hit 300 million.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
which is very good. I think this
It
movie
it
has
costs, I
paid for
think,
itself.
less. Yeah, oh, yeah. I think their budget was somewhere under 200,000,000, if I read that right. I don't have it in front of me. I read something. So it sounds like they're gonna make some money on this one. So,
They're gonna make money on this one. They're already talking about making a sequel, which is crazy.
how do you
And
make a sequel, though?
I'll we don't want to spoil it, but they could do it. I could see how they could do it. The way the movie ended, that's how they'd probably make the sequel. I'm trying to be behave
Okay.
and not
So
spoil.
because you've read the book, so yeah, okay. If you yeah, and
Even
there's
if
probably
you've
more
not
in the
read the
book.
book, if you see the film, there's a way they can make a sequel there. Um, but so that's what they're already looking at it, and they're doing that. Yeah, it made just shy of $200 million. It's probably gonna hit that over the weekend. And get this, it's made all this money hot on the heels or right before next weekend the Mario movie drops, which is gonna take off like a rocket next weekend.
Mm,
And so this thing has made the money at the right time. You have to remember it's spring break, so people are going to the movies right now as well. And there's
yeah.
Easter break coming up on us. I would say this: it is a movie, and Ken, you can jump on here if you want. This is a family movie. Dad
Yeah.
and mom and the kids can enjoy this one all
Yeah.
together. It's
Yeah.
safe for your children. Like I said, if you're sensitive to them taking the Lord's name in vain, using "Oh my God" incorrectly, he does say that maybe 3 times. There is no innuendo, not really. Um,
No, I mean, I can't. It's one of those movies where it's like, when you have a bunch of noise, all of a sudden it's silent. It's like, wait, whoa, what's going on? It's like there's a clear absence of like the profanity and the agendas and stuff. It's like it's not here. It's amazing. Like
yeah,
halfway through the movie, I'm like, I haven't heard a swear yet. This is odd. For any movie today, that's odd. So,
well,
yeah, it was
you
just it
don't
was a
need that
movie
stuff.
that you could take your whole family to and
Now,
watch
I
and
would
enjoy.
say if you got really, really little kids, probably a little too intense for them,
Yeah, there'd be
but
some scary parts for, like, a 5-year-old or something like that, or yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it's
Um,
intense like a roller coaster's intense, not intense like it's scary by implication, but not scary because they're trying to scare you. Is that if I'm trying to
right.
be very good here
Yeah, yeah,
on not to spoil it.
yeah.
There's no horror. They do and any of
No,
the bits that are a little jumpy, it's only 1 or 2 scenes. And
yeah,
they're doing that for effect. But you could take your family. I think that you'll enjoy it. There are incredible Christian undertones. Have now that I've seen it twice, my wife saw the scene that's on the trailer where Rocky can hear. Rocky has no eyes, so Rocky the alien has really his sonar, so he sees with
Yeah. He
sound,
sees with sonar.
and he hears about 100 to like I don't know, it's like at least 10 times better than we do. And so she saw the scene online where he's trying to whisper so Rocky can't hear him, and Rocky hears him perfectly because how he sees is with sonar. So
Yeah.
she was like, "Now I really want to go see this." So we figured out a way for us to go see it. I literally saw it a second time, like a and got home maybe an hour and a half ago. Yeah, there you go. Hello, Grace. Hello, Grace friend. The voice actor for Rocky was so good. And what surprised me, Ken, did this surprise you? It was a puppet. About 90% of the time, he was actually a puppet, not CGI.
Yeah, it's funny because I know, like Strange New Worlds, they mix CGI and puppetry, like parts, with different characters like the Gorn. You see, and in your mind, you think it's got to all be CGI, because of the way they do it. But yeah, to use advanced puppetry like that, I think it's pretty cool. That they're still doing stuff like that, and because some movies will just go straight CGI, and I
Yeah.
think it cheapens it, especially when it's like up close. You can tell it's not quite right. But when they mix it like that, or even in this case, they use a full blown puppet. I mean,
Yeah.
that's unusual today, but
It's
it gives a sense of realism, you know?
It's old school movie making technique. And
Yeah,
if you're appreciator of just how film works, the transitions are good, the drama is good. Ryan Gosling is excellent in the film.
yeah.
Yeah, this so I watched the Barbie movie with him in it. He was actually very good in that as well. I stayed away from Ryan for a long time because he was famous for chick flicks. But
This is
he
not one of
made this.
those.
No, this is not at all. He made this and he did it. He just did a really, really good job. Um, and one thing that Ken had shared about how he feels about movies, he's got the right view, which is they're there to fill seats. It's
Yeah,
not our job to fill the seats, it's his job to fill the seats at the movie theaters.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this I mean, just by how much it's made, it's doing it. They
yeah.
need to take this formula and run with it. They need to say, "Don't put any agenda in here. Make a movie of a roller coaster of a movie. Just like I'm here to have a good time." I would say this
Mhm.
about it. It was positive. It wasn't doom and gloom.
Right.
You know, the point is like, yeah, they're trying to stop the sun from dying. And
Yeah,
so any other movie that'd be like, well, the world's ending. With Project Hail Mary, they are trying to say you can walk through hard things.
yeah,
You can work and figure it out.
and
And
persevere.
they do a good job. It's not doom and gloom. It's optimistic, but it's realistic as well. And I think that a
Yeah,
lot of people need that story right now, which is like, I mean, our world isn't easy to go through. Life isn't easy to go through, but you know, people don't need doom. They need optimism. In
yeah,
reality too, I mean, they could have failed. I mean, it's called the Hail Mary for 2 reasons, but the stated reason is because it's a long shot. This
mhm.
private reason is because there's actually really, really fantastic spiritual undertones. Ken, did you pick up on any of the spiritual undertones? Did you kinda see it at the edge there? Because I was talking about this with my wife, and, I mean,
Uh,
watching it a second time, it's clear that they were under the surface, like, but I thought pretty close.
I mean, I think I would have to watch it a second time, and usually if I watch a movie a second time, I see stuff I didn't see the first time. So, first time around, I didn't notice it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. I just didn't see it. Um,
Well, the big thing that jumps out. And so let me explain what I picked up, and and you just see how follow me along, Ken, if you to see what it is. So the ship is called the Hail Mary. The Ryan Gosling's character is called like Dr. Grace.
yeah,
And so I'm a Protestant, I'm a Baptist. We don't usually say this, but one of the historic prayers of Christendom is Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord be with thee. Blessed art thou of all amongst women, but Hail Mary, full of grace. And so the ship is literally carrying the man who's going to be the savior. And
Yeah, that's true.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
when you start to think about it, now you and I weren't raised Roman Catholic, so maybe that passes over us a little bit, but that's what they were doing, where Dr. Grace is going to be the savior of mankind.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't do it willingly, but he goes to do it. And he's
Yeah.
on a suicide mission, essentially. There's only a
Yep.
one way there. Um, and so he has to, by taking this long shot and it costs him everything, he does it. And what happens when he gets there? Well, he meets a rock animal. And it's not really an animal, a rock person. And what Grace does is built on the rock. And who, of course, so you want to really get into it, who's the rock in the scriptures? It's Peter. And so who is the encourager, the pusher in the text? Peter is. Peter goes and gets it. He goes after things. And you can see the foundation of their salvation from, the sun-eating things is built on Rocky as well. And what does Rocky do? Rocky also costs him
Yeah.
extravagantly and greatly. And I don't feel like I'm pushing it too far there, but they Christianity can become so gloomy, but we have a savior who's involved, who's active. When I read through it, the book, but also when I talked with my wife afterwards, you can she's like that. It reminds me of the story of Joseph. I was like, yeah, Joseph and Esther, because God isn't necessarily God is present in the film. There's even a scene where he asks the lady who's coordinating the whole project, "Do you believe in God?" She says, "It's better than the alternative." And as opposed to being dismissive, he salutes her. And so there is a very pro spiritual element, which again, that's kind of refreshing too, right, Ken? How many movies are like, yeah, we do need God
Yeah.
out there, and it's not like I'm a
Yeah.
preacher. It's not preachy. You know, I want to be preached at. I go to church.
Yeah.
I don't go to the movies. But there's an obvious spiritual undertone to sacrifice, of willing to do the hard work, which Christian faith is one that says I'm willing to do the hard work, of being hopeful and trying. I It was very good, very good. I will have to encourage other people to see it, because that spiritual message underneath, when you just start to really set into it, they I don't know that Andy Weir, the writer of the book, was setting out to tell a Christian tale, but if you'll pardon the phrase, the movie's kind of haunted by it. They can't escape it. It's just in because Christianity is in our culture, it's everywhere. And so he's going to tell a story where a man sacrificing himself, it's going to show up, you know? Uh, I was very impressed. And like we said, they weren't going out there to make a Christian film. It just kind of sort of backs into it. um, yeah, it's very good. So Ken, what were your other impressions of it?
I liked how you know, it's funny because like when you go back to like in Star Trek, the original Star Trek shows, um, you don't really get the sense of outer space as feeling that real versus like the newer shows, they make it more real. Um, this show, you felt like outer space was a dangerous, cold, dark place that's, like it would really be. Um,
Yeah,
and it's you get that sense like, the only he's in the ship and he's got gravity when they got the ship spinning for centrifugal force. They didn't have some magical, gravity system that worked for them. Um, that's the only way he had gravity was to do that, and if he didn't have that, he didn't have gravity. And everything that they did, it was like it felt like it would really feel, in real life if in that scenario. having to travel as far as he did and be in hibernation and all that stuff. Um, it just gave you a sense of realness. They didn't have like
Mm,
some sort of magical thing that makes them, you know, do what they had to do. I like that. I like the feeling of like it feels like this could be a real scenario in a way. Maybe not right now, but maybe in a few years, um, that we could do something like that. What they had to do and travel that far. Um, the fact that they've been talking about in real life Mars missions where astronauts that would go to Mars, it's going to be a one-way trip.
yep.
And this is a lot further away, but again, same idea, one-way trip. There's no magic button to make this any easier. So I like that about it. And again, for me, walking into it and the way they presented it, um, it's like at first you have no idea what's going on. Where is this guy? What's going on? Then he finds out where he is, finds out he's by himself, you know, and which wasn't supposed to be the case. And then the story just unfolds, and they're telling the story as the story is unfolding. They're telling the backstory. So by the end of the film, you know the whole story, but you don't know the whole story till the end of the film, which I thought was pretty cool. I like how they presented it. I like how they put it together. And for one guy to be out there by himself and make a whole movie about it, have it be interesting, um, you know, that's not easy to do. So, and certainly this came from the book. I understand that, but just the way it was written, the way it was put on the screen to work. Um, I just thought it was, again, it's a movie I could go back and watch again for sure,
Yeah.
and love it all over. So,
I
yeah, I mean,
realize
it was, it was,
my stream's a little shaky on my end, guys. I'm working on it over here. Just in case I'm cutting up on everybody. Yeah, I yeah, so I read the book. If you read the book and you watch the film, they do cut out some of the major plot points of the book, but I don't
which is
know how they could
inevitable.
have
I mean,
handled it. Yeah.
you can't take a whole book and shove it into a movie, you know? So,
Yeah, like, one of the things about them is they
overall,
have to
how accurate was the movie compared to the book?
you know what? They did a good job. They did a very good job. There are things like in the book, they have more sciencey stuff, but I think had they gone too
Mhm.
hard into the science, that it probably would have turned a lot of people off. Uh, but the book is doing a different thing than, say, the than the movie is. So they're explaining how the vessel works. They're explaining how they can go near light speed. They're explaining about relativity and distance. And in a movie,
Mhm.
that's not as easy to do. They get into
Yeah.
how exactly the sun is dying and what they're going to do with it. They get on into in the book what they're going to do on Earth when to deal with it while they're trying to figure out the problem. And these are just
Yeah.
things that you they could have translated some of that into the film, but there's things that you can't. They did change, how Rocky eats food. That's completely different, but that's okay. They made it into a joke. Um,
Mm.
but the way that the relationship between Rocky and Dr. Grace was a bit, I would say, warmer in the movie than it was in the book. And in the book, as you learn more about Rocky, it gets really sad, to be honest. They saved the day, of course, but when you find out the details, like, I can spoil this. Rocky has been working on this problem longer than Grace has been alive.
Hmm.
And so Rocky's species, though, Rocky himself is like over 350 years old,
Mm. Okay.
which which means he's older than America, for example.
Yeah.
People were still people were getting here when Rocky, were colonizing when Rocky was born. And so
Mm.
he's just an older being. His life, you find out about his ship, like everyone, I'm not going to say what happens on his ship, but what he goes through is a lot of sadness. And when Grace shows up, the sadness is lifted by Grace's presence, which again,
Mm.
there's a biblical thing for you, by the way.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
They do a really good job. If you are looking for a good book to read or Audible, definitely pick it up. The guy who reads it's fantastic on Audible. They if you like the minutia and the science, Weir is really good about that. Um, the film, though, the scene with the spaceship, and when you see the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The way they put that into the movie m- was excellent, absolutely excellent. Um, because you feel that pressure. And Ken and I mean, look, we need to change our background. I realize, guys, but we love spaceships. That's just something that he and I like. We enjoy it. I don't think that's our favorite one, the Run Above Me. The Sovereign class is probably the second best one, and wherever the Galaxy class is probably the best one. Though that's over here on my screen. And the
Do we need to change
Constitution.
it though? Do we really need to change the background
We
though?
probably should. People are gonna get the wrong impression.
Yeah, I suppose so.
um, Um, but so I appreciate the space battle. No, it's not a space battle. The spaceship aspect of the film. By the way, I don't know if I told you when we went to the movie theater today, I bought the popcorn bucket. We bought the popcorn buckets they were selling. Elena wanted the one with Rocky and the hamster ball. You'll see what I mean when you guys see the movie. But they sold those. They sold out of those like on day one. So we ended up
Uh,
getting the space helmet one.
huh.
But yeah, those she's like, I want the hamster ball Rocky. It's in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling that. He's just not there. They don't call it a hamster ball, but I can't not see a hamster ball.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good yeah, that was funny how they did that. It's funny.
But
You gotta see the movie
definitely,
though. Gotta see the
yeah,
movie.
you gotta. So our official recommendation to you is go see this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take your kids. It's up to you how you parent. Like I said, I would be sensitive with my littles because maybe because of intensity, not because of character and not
Right.
because of what's said, but the
Yeah.
intensity of the film might be a little much for someone who's very little. That said, it's a family movie, and it's not a family movie where but dad will actually be paying attention, and
Yeah.
everyone in the
Yeah.
family will truly enjoy this. You brought your youngest with you. What did he say after we separated? Did he
No,
have
he
any
liked it.
positive things to say? Yeah, he seemed like
He
when we were
liked it.
chatting about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But the
good.
the thing that I've learned now that Ken and I have watched the movie together, he and his family do a lot of were processing. You guys were, like, really processing after the film and really really thinking about it. I was picking that up about you guys. Me, because I had read the book, I was like, "That was great."
Yeah.
Um, and we just process differently, but, yeah, the 3 of you, uh, you seem to really be into it at the end there. I was told there was a post-credit scene, by the way, and it was not there, at least not in my showing, the second showing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
It
say
was supposed to be a joke like, Rocky will return in the Avengers.
oh, okay.
I don't know about that, but
But
I
there
didn't
was
we
nothing
stayed
there?
there was nothing other one we went to,
Huh.
but, yeah, it was good. I hope Rocky does return in the sequel. We'll see about that. So,
Yeah,
official recommendation, go check this one out if you get the time.
definitely.
It's worth the 2.5 hours. And I
Yep.
found out just today, I was just sharing with Ken, the director's cut is let me get it exactly. It's 3 hours and 45 minutes. So this film, they cut down by an hour and 20 for the theaters.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy. That's
but I will
crazy.
say this, it is not even 5 minutes too long. I think it was the perfect length for what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I would be interested at watching the other hour and 20 minutes because I enjoyed it that much. But, I think, Ken, you've said this to me prior, movies that are that long are better to watch at home. So, and
Oh, yeah.
the more I think about that, I think you're correct,
Yeah.
you know?
4 hours in a theater is way too long. So,
It's just long in a seat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch that from home and,
But, yeah,
then you can
this
take
is
breaks.
correct. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
No.
But
No.
and yeah, I would happily watch the 4-hour version, definitely.
Yeah,
Well, Ken, let me give you the
absolutely.
final thoughts. Oop.
Oh, you want me to? Okay. We're professionals. No, my final thoughts on this were, I feel like we don't get to say this very often, that, this is a movie for anybody. Um, I liked it, my wife liked it, my son liked it, and a lot of times if I like a movie, my wife doesn't like it, or if she likes it, I don't like it. So it really hits all those points. It's really designed for anybody in the family to watch, and,
Mhm.
it tells an interesting story. It appeals to a broad audience, and, again, there's nothing offensive in it. Like Dave said, the only thing I would watch out for is little kids. It might be some parts might be a little too intense for little kids, but, as a general family movie, um, or even a movie by yourself, doesn't matter. It's a great flick, and definitely check it out. And, I definitely support this movie. These are the types of movies we want them to be making. So, and we as the audience, we can show them we want them to be making these movies. So definitely check it out and check it out for yourself, and then let us know what you think. Let us
That's
know
the
if you agree with us.
that's the big key there. Supporting good films,
Yeah.
because your dollar is what they're looking at. And when the dollars go to the right things, they pay attention.
Yeah.
That these woke as a joke films, I kind of have a feeling that they were getting paid by somebody to make them. That's maybe a little too tinfoily for some folks, but I think that that Hollywood has to see this film that's going to make probably $300 million here by the end of the week.
Yeah.
They're going to see that, and their money people are going to say, "Hey, boss, more of that. Do more of that. We want more of that." And
Yeah.
so when you go to a good movie, you're saying, "Do this again. Don't go to bad movies, and we'll help you with that. We'll see bad movies, but don't
Yeah.
waste your time
We'll we'll suffer for you.
on yeah, we'll suffer for you." But yeah, this one, your dollars are important. Your time is even, we spend time easier than we spend money as a culture, and
Yeah.
time is more precious than money. Um, but I would say this is definitely worth it. And yeah, I was so worth it to me. We went twice. And I
Yeah.
would do it again if I would go again. I actually would go a third time. I can say in my life, I think I've only been to, maybe you can count on two hands how many times I've seen a movie that I've paid for to see it more than once.
Mm.
Maybe you can count on two hands, like barely. And I haven't seen a movie I can go see twice in like maybe a decade.
Twice in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not been many that I've seen twice in the theater, just a handful, tops, in my whole life. So,
I probably would have been
um
willing to go see Endgame again. Uh, I saw Toy Story 3 twice in theaters.
hmm, okay.
That's
Alright,
how
yeah.
that was like 2011,
That was a while ago.
2010,
That was
2009.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I think I saw Wally in theaters a few times. See how long
Wall-E.
ago these are,
Wall-E.
though? That's like 2007? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I saw that on TV, on the video or something. I didn't see it in the theater, but I remember that movie.
I think I saw
Yeah.
Star Trek when with the Chris Pine Star Trek, the first one that he did. I think I saw that one twice.
Okay.
Once in regular theater and once in IMAX. That was awesome.
Oh, okay.
This, by the
Yeah.
way, Project Hail Mary was filmed indigenously in IMAX. That would probably be worth seeing in IMAX.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is not a close IMAX theater to us, or
Yeah.
but that would be worth seeing in IMAX for sure.
Yep.
Ken, when I saw this new Star Trek, the first Chris Pine Star Trek in the IMAX, it was one that was like, the one that goes way up here.
Mhm.
It had one of those sound systems where you could like feel the bass in your lungs.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so when the nacelles are, kicking into gear, you can feel like your chest rumbling because the bass
Yeah.
is so loud. That was
That
pretty cool.
that would be a
Um,
cool movie to see in IMAX.
But yeah, that definitely impressed with this one. Hey, with that one, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments over here. We could definitely chat more about that. But thanks. Yeah, definitely go see that one.
Yep. All right. You ready for our last segment?
Yeah, we can get into that. Let's talk about the word. All right,
What do we
I'm
got
not
tonight?
gonna go too long, Ken. But one of the things I want to encourage people to do, I'm just opening up my Bible on my screen over here, is I want to encourage you guys to pray for yourselves. A lot of people are uncomfortable praying for themselves for some reason. They are fine with praying for somebody else, but when it's like, hey, I need to pray for me, they some people feel selfish for some reason. Like, I don't know
I
what
was
that
gonna say,
is.
yeah, selfish would come to mind, and
Um,
which I
and
know is silly, but
it,
I do it. I do it. You know, I
and
get that sense.
yeah, I'm not gonna call it. Let me put it like this. Jesus says in John 10:10, I've come so that they may have life and have it to the full, or if you prefer one of the older translations, I come so that you may have life and have it more abundantly.
Hmm.
And so the way that you have life abundantly is by knowing the Lord. And so he wants you to have, this is going to sound like, is he a health and wealth guy? No, but he does come to give you abundant life, right? That's
Right.
what he does. Life abundant
Yeah.
means life that is big and full. And, you guys, Ken and I, we've been following the Lord as best we can for some time now. He does bring you a full life. But one of the things you need to do is you need to be willing to pray, and you need to be willing to pray for yourself. Um, if you look at the life of the Lord, Jesus goes off to pray in the garden, or he goes off into the wilderness to pray for himself pretty often. He
Yeah.
goes out and gets away from everybody else, and he prays that he would do his Father's will. And so if Jesus is willing to go and pray for himself, then you, dear Christian, you need to go do that too, because you want to know how to be the best human being. Act like the person who's actually the best human being ever.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
Jesus is willing to go pray for himself, don't be afraid to go and do likewise. Um, it'll make you have that abundant life. Uh, you're not being selfish for doing so. Now, I'll say this: I don't know a single teenager who isn't praying before a test. Like, Lord, help me
Yeah.
remember before I take this exam. But there are other times where you might say, well, what should I pray for? Well, just a couple of let me give you like two or three things off the top of my head. Um, Pray for an opportunity to share the word. Like, hey, God, today things are going fine, but put someone in my way to talk to you about. So, Ken, this is one of my favorite ways to improve customer service for me. If you ever want to get out of the store super fast, just start talking about Jesus.
Yeah. We've talked about this before off air. Yeah.
One or two, we have. I don't know if I said that. One or two things is going to happen. Either you're going to be there for an extra half hour, or man, you'll be checked out so fast.
Get out
You
of
know,
here. Yeah.
I go, that's
Yeah.
great. Boop, boop, boop. See you. Thanks. Have a great
Yeah.
day. But yeah, pray for opportunity. My personal mission field is the grocery store around the corner. I've now gotten to the point where I know like half of the staff, and I'm
Mm.
just like always evangelizing them and having a good time. My wife, I think, is trying to make really good friends of the girl who runs the bakery to
Mm.
actually some success. It's now they're such good friends that sometimes she even gives my kids the better cookies out of the cabinet.
Nice. Nice. Those are the
That's
best
not why
friends
we
to
did
have.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Those are
we
the
didn't go into it for better cookies. We got into it because I wanted to
Sure.
talk about Jesus, and we just have connected. Um, but God is so good. So you can pray for opportunity. You can
Yeah.
pray if you're not sure. You can pray that you. This is a tough one. Pray that you hate sin more, hate your sin more. Yes, by the
Yeah.
way, Christian, it's okay for you to hate. You can hate the right things. God hates. That's one of those
Mhm.
things people don't want to hear about. Like, whoa, hatred? Is that okay? Yeah,
Right.
God hates sin, so we got to be like him.
Yeah.
Jesus hates sin too. Uh, Ken, I don't know about you. I think we've talked about this, so I'm being rhetorical there. There are movies, for example, that I can't watch anymore as I've grown in my faith.
Yep.
Um,
Me too.
because I so hate the sin that these films that was so easy to watch, I just can't put on anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I can't entertain it. I don't want it, and in fact, it's disturbing, it's disgusting, it's degrading. It's just I don't want it in my life.
Yeah.
And if I had told the younger me that 10 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, he'd be like, "What? That's not that big of a deal." It's like, "Yeah,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I don't want this sin in my life. I hate this sin." So if you're not sure what
Mhm.
to pray for, pray you can hate sin. Pray that you find degeneracy and debauchery wicked. You know,
Yeah.
the world wants to go with loving everything, but the Christian needs to go with loving what God loves and hating with what God hates.
Yep.
And hate is such a word that people are really afraid of, but that's what you got to pray for. You pray for that. You pray. So we talk about you pray for the lost. You pray for opportunity to speak to the lost. You pray for that you'd love what God loves, hate what God hates. Um, yeah, I watched in college Team America, which is a really gross movie, and that even comes up somewhere on the internet somewhere. I do this because 'cause I'm just embarrassed by the fact that would enjoy that.
Mm.
It is you just your taste and desires change as you become more like the Lord. Uh, Lastly, this one is gonna be hard for a lot of people, and I'm only gonna do 3. I have a few more. Pray for dependence on the Lord. This is the scariest prayer you can do in your life. God, I don't wanna depend on my pocketbook, I wanna depend on you.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, uh, I can see the money in my wallet. Uh, I can I can see like I have my pocket knife on me. I can see the protection that I carry. I can't see the Lord.
Right.
And it's really easy to trust in your hands and your arms and in your boots, so to speak, and really hard to trust in a God who you can't see, touch, smell, behold, and saying, God, I want to be broken off of me and more onto you.
Yeah.
That, that's that's hard to do. That is
Yeah.
really hard to do because Ken, I can say this about you: you work hard for everything you have, and Ken, you can correct me. Nothing was given to you; you earned
That
it.
yeah.
You don't have to agree, but when you're a man who earns it, when somebody tells you that this is free, it rubs the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It seems too good to be true.
It seems too good to be true. And this is just generally true of our culture as well. Americans are builders and we're workers. Yeah, well, we internally criticize that we're lazy, but every American thinks they can be a millionaire if they work hard enough. That's something that's been true of us as a people for a long time.
Yeah.
It's in our cultural DNA. Our ancestors came across an ocean and they found a jungle of trees and nothing. And they built the most powerful, richest society the world has ever seen in less than 100 years, which
Mhm.
is just mind boggling. And so that earning it's not given, is so in us that we by default trust in the sweat of our brow, the hard work of our hands, instead of saying, God, I need to trust you here.
Yeah.
So one of the prayers we need to be and need to seek after is like Christ, who says, "Not my will, but thine be done."
Mm-hmm.
God, I need to trust. I trust. Jesus himself was so distraught about the cross that he started to sweat blood, but he said, I need to trust you, talking to his Father. We need to be the exact same way. Be as like sometimes call it a so be it, Lord. So be
Yeah.
it, Christians.
Yep.
Put down, or that doesn't mean it's wrong to work hard. In fact, God loves a hard worker. It doesn't mean it's wrong to have money. God gives money. What it means is I don't trust in my sweat, in my toil, or in my paybook. I trust in Jesus alone. And so if you're not
Mm-hmm.
sure how to pray, ask God, help me to trust you more. This is one of the scariest prayers you can ask, by the way, because he will do it. He delights to do it. When you get to the other end of it, you will be better for it. But it is going to be a tough one to get through. But I tell you, seek the Lord in it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to pray for yourself. In
Yeah.
fact, to become a so be it Christian, you need to start praying for yourself. Hey, Ken, I had a fantastic time today. Thank you for letting me share that one. I want to do more in-person movie reviews. We are talking
that
about
was fun.
we're going to wrap up the Bible segment here. We are talking about going to see possibly Disclosure Day, which I think is about aliens.
Yep. Yep.
Ken, they're going to think we're all about space stuff.
Well,
And then, well, I guess this isn't helping. We're also talking about seeing Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah.
So that is coming out, I believe, in the summer.
Yeah, I don't know if it's May that Mandalorian's coming out or June. I heard something about it again today. I want to say it's May, but
I think you're right.
I also know, with this other one, Disclosure Day, I've seen the previews for that. I'm like, that looks really good. It looks like it's gonna be really good, and that's coming out, I think, in June. But anyway, sometime this summer anyway, that's coming out. So that'll be a good one to review as well. So we're working on some stuff to review for sure. Next week we're gonna be doing a special on Easter. Same time, but we're gonna be talking about Easter. And then the following week, I have to do a review on the first High School Musical movie, which I'm going to do with my daughter because she loves that, and I'm sure I'm gonna hate it, but it'll be fun doing that with her, and we're gonna have her on the show on April 9th. So
It's gonna be
next
our
week,
first
April
guest
2nd.
star.
Yes, our first guest star. So we got stuff we're working on for the future. We got some other irons in the fire as far as guest stars go. So definitely tune back and see those things. If you have any questions or comments, leave them for us. We'll be happy to talk to you about anything you want to talk about. If you have any movie suggestions or shows that you want us to review, share that with us as well.
Yeah, I potentially am going to be seeing the Mario movie with my kids, so I might review that one as well. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next week.
Good night, everybody.